All right, now it's my joy and my honor to welcome Lady Mary Malinski. She's the Archpriestess of the Aquarian Tabernacle Church of Canada and third degree priestess in the ATC tradition. Mary is the High Priestess and founder of the Circle of the Sacred Muse, ATCC, a life coach and Reiki master, teacher at Walks Within. She's also full faculty at Wolstenstein Theological Seminary. We're very excited to have you here, Lady Mary. Thank you so much. And I'm going to turn it over to you to share today. Thank you.
Thank you, Dorley. Uh, I am very honored to be here to talk to you about Beltane. Beltane is a favorite festival for a lot of Wiccans and pagans. In Wicca, it is one of the 8 Sabbats, so one of the 8 great solar festivals of the year. We often think of the solstices and the equinoxes as big deals, right? Astrologically, energetically, they are big deals. But it was the cross quarter days that are considered to be the greater Sabbats. They are the greater festivals. So they are the midpoints in between. And Beltane is one of those in between the spring equinox and the summer solstice. So quite often it is celebrated May 1st, beginning of May. Astrologically, though, it is when the sun is at 15 degrees Taurus, which is around May 5th. So you'll see some people celebrating anywhere around this time. For our group, because we also do full moon rituals and the full moon happens to fall right close to May 1st, we are doing our Beltane celebration next week on the 26th. So we are in the energy of Beltane as we move through this calendar. And Beltane, it is a celebration of life and fertility, as because it is a solar festival, it is following the cycles of the sun. It is also a fire festival. You'll find that fire features prominently at most of the Sabbath celebrations throughout the year because of the solar connection. So one of the things that was often done at Beltane to bless the cattle and bless the fields and bring fertility to all aspects of life was to jump the bale fire or to drive cattle between two fires as a purification and a blessing. So fire is a big deal at this time of year. Um, May The month of May, the name of May comes from the goddess Maya, who was originally a Greek mountain nymph, said to be the mother of Hermes, god of magic. So this is a magical time of year. And because it falls opposite of Samhain or Halloween in the calendar, it is known as a time when the veils are thin. So Samhain is a time when the veils between the worlds of this world, the living and the dead, are thin. Beltane is a time when the veil between this world and the land of the fairies are thin. So be careful around Beltane of stepping into a fairy circle of mushrooms, or, if any of you are Outlander fans, watch those standing stones, because you might just be transported to another time or place. So it is a festival of flowers. And as Dorley was talking about at the beginning of the meeting today, flowers are growing prominently on the West Coast here, but also, in many places of the world. Spring is well and truly in bloom. They say April showers bring May flowers. So this is the time of celebrating the flowers. And so you can see behind me, I'll just turn my shutter off for a moment. So this is actually the Chalice Well in Glastonbury. This is a photograph that I took last year. I had the honor of being present at Glastonbury on the Chalice Well grounds at Beltane. So this is the Chalice Well in Glastonbury, all decorated, ready to celebrate Beltane. And you can see lots of flowers and some offerings of apples or fruit, which are often connected with fertility. Uh, Fertility is a huge part of this festival. Wicca and paganism is very sex positive. So this is a time of wanting the fertility of the earth, fertility of the body, fertility of everything in our lives, right? This is the time where seeds have been planted and we want things to grow and we want to make sure that we have plenty of crops to bring in for harvest. So one of the traditions was to bless the fields. The May King, a May King and a May Queen would be chosen to ensure the fertility of the land. Some of it was the May Queen was celebrated for her beauty or other things. The May King often was chosen through his prowess in sports and games. Um, Actually, when I was at Glastonbury last year, I got to witness the sacred marriage. So, the passing of the torch from the May King and Queen from the previous year to the May King and Queen of the current year. They had a whole ceremony where they took a maypole and they paraded it through the town, and um, the newly crowned May King and Queen were handfast before dancing the maypole. So beautiful tradition to ensure the abundance of the community. And it just so happens, I have been kind of following along from last year, but the May King and Queen from 2024, as well as the May King and Queen from 2025, were both blessed with abundance from their Beltane hand fasting and have had children that came from that union, which is, I think, beautiful. In ancient times, Beltane was a as that fertility festival, it was often a time where um, people would give in to their sexual desires and urges and take partners that maybe were outside of wedlock or outside of their regular partnership. Um, Again, perhaps they had been married for a long time, but had not yet conceived a child. So it was acceptable to take a different partner to conceive a child to continue the line. And it was thought that children that were conceived at Beltane were the children of the gods, god and goddess. And so they were blessed, they were extra blessed and welcomed and raised by the community and not necessarily shunned as, oh no, out of wedlock children. Um, so it was a time to go into the green and celebrate in your own way. So I'm just looking at my notes. Um, so the It was not actually common, though, for folks to get married or actually handfast at Beltane. It was seen as the sacred marriage, the marriage of the god and goddess. And so it was not, people didn't want to presume or step on the toes of deities. So a lot of hand fastings and celebrations actually happened at Lunasa, which is around August 1st. That was a traditional time for hand fastings. So the Greenwood marriages were outside of the unions outside of actual marriage, but we didn't want to step on the god and goddesses day or month or celebration. And even in even in the folklore still exists of marry in the month of May, surely you will rue the day. So it is considered to be a less lucky time to actually get married. So, one of the other big symbols of or big traditions, besides jumping the balefire to ensure fertility of body of lands of the community was dancing the maypole. Um, Again, this is a very fertility coded symbol. We have the very phallic pole that is planted in the earth and crowned with flowers, and we circle it and decorate it with ribbons. Let's see if I can just see if this will do. So this is the dancing of the maypole at Glastonbury on the Chelleswell grounds that happened last year. So you can see the traditional colors for the maypole ribbons are red and white, and these represent God and Goddess, beginning and ending. They are colors of fertility, of purity, and of course, the blood that represents the fertility. So, um, some say that the white ribbons are for death and the red for the blood of life. Like I said, white often represents purity, the virgin goddess, red for the sun god, white for the maiden, transitioning into red for the mother. So there's lots of different ways that you can look at the symbolism of the red and white ribbons. Typically, you want to make sure that you have both men and women who are dancing the maypole, and you go in different directions and weave in and out to uh, to decorate the pole. I have a quote from Janet and Stuart Farah from the Witch's Bible. Beltane was a time of unashamed human sexuality and fertility, right? Um, and even seemingly innocent children's nursery rhymes, Ride a Cock Horse to Banbury Cross, retain the memories of that fertility, and to see a fine lady on a white horse. So the May King often is portrayed as the green man, the Jack in the Green. And I definitely saw that tradition celebrated in Glastonbury last year. So it was the Green Men and the May King was accompanied by his green men, and they were the ones that carried the maypole through the town for all the blessings. And the May Queen was accompanied by her court uh, of other maidens. Uh, yeah, so definitely you can see in a lot of the symbolism the vibrance, the celebration of life, the emphasis on balance and polarity. So, in traditional Beltane ceremonies, gender was a huge part of it. We had the men separated and the women, and it was the men who would lift the pole and the women who would encourage and receive the pole into the ground, right? Um, Now, in modern paganism, as we recognize that gender and sexuality are spectrums and not necessarily, binaries, we recognize and allow for people to choose whether they aside with the masculine or the feminine, or as we have started to use in our tradition more the projective and the receptive, because that talks more about the energy, right? We have projective energy that is out in the world, that is the fertilizing force. We have the active force, and we have the receptive energy that nurtures and receives that energy and brings forth new life. And so no matter what your gender identity or your sexuality, we all have those projective and receptive energies inside of us, and we can choose which one we resonate more strongly with. And I really love that we're starting to move beyond that idea of binary, because I know that for some trans folks, for some non-hetero individuals, that Beltane can be a very sensitive time with its focus on fertility and traditionally those gender roles. So we work really hard to be more inclusive and recognize that this is a celebration for everyone and not just traditional male and female individuals. Yeah. So other activities that are common at Beltane besides the maypole and jumping the balefire are wearing flower crowns, right? Weaving flower crowns from fresh flowers, preferably, but um, silk flowers are also acceptable. Oh, I don't have mine in here. I have one from our recent celebration of Spring Mysteries, a flower crown. But it's traditional to wear flower crowns, both for men and women. So everyone gets to wear flowers at this time of year. And giving May baskets. So I remember vividly when I was younger, even though I was raised in a Lutheran household, one of the things that we would often do at May was we would weave little baskets out of paper, or we would take like the strawberry baskets and weave ribbons through it to decorate a little basket. And we would pick flowers and leave it on our neighbors or friends' doorstep and knock on the door and run away. And so we would give May baskets of flowers. So that is a tradition at this time to share abundance with other people in your community and the beauty of those flowers, right? It's a time where we feel vibrantly our connection to the living, growing earth. Um, I was saying earlier that for me, one of the anchors that spring is really truly here, aside from hearing the frogs, hearing frogs start to croak is also very dear to me. That I know, okay, all is well. The frogs are singing. Life has returned. All is well. But another thing is to smell the cottonwoods and the scent, like the balm of Gilead scent, right? That the cottonwood buds are used for. To me, that is just the embodiment of spring, and I feel vibrant and alive when I smell that very rich perfume. Um, Beltane is a time of being playful. You see Morris dancers are traditional at this time. I didn't go watch them, but the Morris dancers climbed the Tor at Glastonbury to welcome the sunrise. I was not ready to climb the Tor at that hour of the morning because it is a very big hill. Uh, but it is a time to be social, to be fully embodied, to express yourself however you see fit. And I mean, you can see how many people are in the crowd here and many of them are wearing flower crowns or are dressed up to celebrate. So in the village, there was lots of dancing, there was singing, there was feasting. The whole community and people from all over were gathered both at the Chalice Well and at the town square. I did get to see some Morris dancers and participate a little bit with Morris dancers in the town square. Uh, yeah, and it's a time to just go and be in nature. It's a great time to get outdoors, go for walks, and just observe the trees as the buds are coming forth, to listen to the birds sing, to feel our connection and our oneness with the modern world. So at our celebrations today, we still quite often will dance a maypole. We actually are going to be doing a maypole next week at our celebration. I have my red and white ribbons here that I have to cut up and get ready for our dance. We probably will also have our little cauldron fire ready for people to jump for and ask for blessings of fertility for whatever aspect of their life that they may choose. Um, and it's a time to reflect on what is blooming in your life. Where are you being called to step into vitality and joy? Where are you ready to embrace your fullness or nurture your life into its fullness? Right. And this can be, through welcoming a family member into your life, expanding your family, growing your family in whatever way. I know some of you talked about welcoming parents back into your homes and lives. This can be through welcoming children. This can be through forming a greater bond or connection with your community and doing some kind of outreach work. It can also be through creativity. This is a time to let those creative juices really get flowing. And what can you give birth to as a creative project at this time of year? The energy is vibrant. So if you have had something that you've been thinking about doing for a long time, now is the time to get into it, get into action on that, because the energy of the sun is with you to make that grow and expand. Yeah. So, in closing, Beltane reminds us that life is meant to be lived fully, joyfully, and in connection with the land, with each other, and with our shell selves.
All